Welcome back to Forex in 9 minutes, where I give you the sauce in 9 minutes or less. If you've ever wondered what's the difference between support and resistance and supply and demand, this video is for you. I'll explain exactly how these price action concepts are related and how they're different. So watch till the end, and if you find value in this type of content, consider giving a like, subscribing, and turning on notifications so you know when the next episode is released. Forex in 9 minutes. Let's go.
This video is about the difference between support resistance and supply and demand. This is to clear up any confusion in the minds of new traders that aren't able to really see an appreciable difference between the two. And it's understandable how it can be confusing because they are closely related. But there are subtle differences that we can identify on the charts that gives us the ability to distinguish between a support level and demand and a resistance level and supply. To be clear, demand acts as support and supply acts as resistance, but resistance is not supply and support is not demand. The easiest way to distinguish between these two is when you look at a range. A range, as we talked about before, is price moving between well-defined levels of support and resistance. Now within a range, price moves from support to resistance without breaking the opposing resistance. Price moves from resistance towards support without breaking the opposing support. And it keeps doing that, just like a ping pong game. Bounces back and forth until demand or supply forms. And then demand will break through the opposing resistance level here. Likewise, supply will break through a level of support. That's the key difference. Support and resistance do not break the opposing. Demand and supply do break the opposing. Now, where demand forms, it makes its impulsive wave that breaks resistance. Where that impulsive wave ends becomes a new level of resistance. Now, this resistance is weak compared to the demand. So once price pulls back and forms another demand zone, price will break the newest resistance and then keep forming resistance until such point that it can no longer break the resistance, and then demand reverts back to being a level of support. And the support is inherently weaker than demand, so it is subject to being taken out itself. Looking at this within a trend, we see price makes an impulsive move, and where it stops at becomes a level of resistance. It pulls back to demand. That demand will break this level of resistance and form a new level of resistance, and they continue doing that, pulls back and forms demand. If price did this instead and came up here, pulled back from resistance to this level but failed to break this level of resistance, then this is no longer demand, this is just a level of support, and then this becomes a strong level of resistance. In a downtrend, we can see the same type of behavior. Price comes down, hits the level of support, pulls back, and supply forms. We know it's supply because it breached the level, the opposing level of support. And where it ends, creates a new level of support. When price retraces into a supply zone, that supply zone will generate an impulsive wave that breaks the level of support. If it should fail to be able to break this level of support, this is no longer supply. This is actually just resistance. As you can see, that means we're starting to move between two levels. Now, this support can change roles and become demand if for some reason the support causes price to break the level of resistance. Now this becomes demand. And likewise here, if this resistance causes support to break, this is no longer resistance, this is something that we could consider supply. So that's the main difference. If anyone tries to tell you that there is no difference between support and resistance, you now have the information to know that they don't know what they're talking about, and you can actually give them a true rules-based method for identifying and knowing the difference. You can visually see it on the chart which areas are support and which areas are demand, and which areas are resistance and which areas are supply. Our rule of thumb is if it does not cause a break of the previous high, it's probably support. If it causes a break of the previous high, it's probably demand. If it doesn't cause a break of the previous low, it's probably resistant. If it does cause a break of the previous low or of support, it's probably a supply zone. So that's how you can easily tell the difference between support and resistance and supply and demand. They're closely related, but they're not the same. It's just as every dog is an animal, but not every animal is a dog. And this applies to supply and demand in this relationship to support and resistance. All supply and demand are support, but all support and resistance are not supply and demand.
In the next episode, we'll get more granular with price action, and I'll explain the concept of swing points, which are also called fractals. So make sure to tune into the next episode of Forex in 9 minutes.